Hello and welcome to LA Currents. I'm Anita Bennett. Well, if you've been to LAX or Van Nuys airports recently, you know there are a lot of changes on the horizon. Those changes are part of modernization efforts, and we are at Van Nuys Airport to find out what's going on. Joining us now is Justin Erbacci. You are the CEO of Los Angeles World Airports. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
All right, so Justin, as CEO, what does your job entail?
So as CEO of Los Angeles World Airports, I have the privilege of helping to manage two airports within the city of Los Angeles International Airport, or LAX, and Van Nuys General Aviation Airport here. And the job entails all aspects of operating those airports and making sure that they're safe and secure for passengers and for employees. And that also entails a lot of different aspects as well. So there's a whole aspect around modernization of the airport. That's the construction that we're doing to improve or build new facilities. Then there's also the commercial aspects, so the concessions and the leases to the airlines and to various entities that lease our facilities. Then we have also a lot of initiatives around sustainability and around inclusivity and equity and around the community. So those are all aspects that we have to manage for operating both of those airports.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot going on with the modernization. Can you give us some more specifics?
Our emphasis was on trying to modernize concessions as part of our overall modernization of the airport and to bring it to the next level. That entails bringing in a lot of new brands and local brands. Also making sure that we're bringing innovation in. So we have now the ability to order food and beverage online and either pick it up at the concession or have it delivered to your gate. And we continue to enhance that offering. It's very important that, and it's part of our overall digital marketplace strategy where we want to be able to give passengers the ability to pre-plan and pre-book as much of their journey as possible before they even get to the airport. We are transforming both LAX and Van Nuys, but we're turning them into world-class airports that passengers will want to come to instead of dreading to come to.
What role does Van Nuys play in the overall LAWA system?
So from our perspective, Van Nuys is very important. It's one of the busiest, if not the busiest, general aviation airport in the country. And so it serves a very...
Well, what does general aviation mean?
So general aviation is non-commercial airline activities. So charter flights, private airplane takeoff and landings and parking here, maintenance of charter aircraft. It's just not the type of commercial airlines where you go and you pre-book a flight at a specific time at a specific location. So that's it's covered by a different regulation from the FAA and then LAX. So LAX is a full commercial airport and it can do all kinds of activity. But here, because it's a general aviation airport, they can't conduct commercial activity as that normally is known with major airlines flying in and out of here at preset times.
Mm-hmm. I see a law enforcement vehicle driving by. So what are the security measures here?
So we have the largest airport police department in the country that protects both LAX and Van Nuys. So it's the same department. They just have different management here from within that department. But both are covered by our airport police division, and they make sure that they keep the airports safe and secure.
How busy is this airport? About how many planes use it?
It's one of the busiest, if not the busiest, general aviation airport in the country. And we had approximately 230,000 operations last year. That's both takeoffs and landings. And that's all different types of activities. So you have charter flights that come in and out of here. You have people who have their own airplanes who fly in and out of here or store their planes here. You have airplanes that just come here and pick up or drop off and then leave. They're not based here. And they use one of our fixed base operators here where they go to have their passengers rest before or after the flight and have their pilots rest. They get their aircraft maintained, serviced, and gas up at those facilities. And we have flight schools here as well. And then we have a lot of emergency equipment here for both LA Fire Department and LA County Fire Department activities. And we also have a lot of helicopters here that are used for medical emergencies. Specifically, we have a couple of helicopters that are dedicated towards children's medical issues. And so there's a lot of different type of activity that goes on here at Van Nuys.
You know, Van Nuys Airport is often described as an economic driver in the media. So what does that mean? Is it an economic driver in the city or the San Fernando Valley? Can you tell us that?
Well, it is a huge economic enabler here. It's responsible for conservatively $2 billion of activity, commercial activity in this region. It also houses about 200 businesses, and we have about 10,000 jobs that are associated with Van Nuys here. So it's really a crucial part of this region's economy.
That sounds like a lot of businesses. So what are some of those businesses?
There's all types of businesses. There's everything from flight schools to maintenance operations, fixed-based operators that are here. We have different types of people who serve the airport for different types of equipment, ground service equipment. We have people who provide catering to the fixed-base operators. So there's some that do aircraft maintenance, others that do upholstery for aircraft. So there's all types of businesses that are associated with operating general aviation aircraft.
In terms of the flight school, is that a benefit for the community?
Sure. There's about 20 flight schools that are based here, and they are very important for us to try to help people in the community learn how to fly, because we're very short in pilots. So getting people to learn how to fly either commercially or just recreationally is very important for the area. And also, what it does is that it helps to get people interested in aviation and learn to have careers in aviation here. We have an observation deck where you can go and watch the aircraft take off. So that's something that you can always bring people to, and it's a pretty big hit for kids. Their parents bring their kids here all the time to watch the aircraft take off.
Well, you know what? I think I'm going to come back and take the tour.
Yes, that's a good amenity.
Local residents have been very vocal in the past about noise complaints and whatnot, and now there's concerns with the modernization. So how do you address those concerns?
Yes, we're doing many different types of initiatives to help to mitigate the impacts of the airport on the community. From a noise perspective, is we have implemented a lot of different programs to help mitigate the noise. We are subject to federal regulations in operating this airport, and those federal regulations don't allow us to be able to restrict any specific types of operations or operations during any specific part of the day. But we have implemented, with the cooperation of all of the people who operate out here, a lot of voluntary programs where we try to mitigate noise. One such program is an early turns type of program where we get a lot of awareness around and ask the pilots not to take early turns over the residential areas. And same with helicopters. So the way helicopters come in and at what angles and at what altitudes, we work with the helicopter operators to get them to agree to take routes that are less impactful to the neighborhood from a noise perspective. And we have a volunteer curfew, if you will, where we try to get our operators not to fly between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. And we've been successful in limiting the number of flights during that period. Again, we're not able to completely ban operators, so we have to work with them, and they've been very cooperative in trying to help us to limit the number of flights that take off or land during that period. So it's just multiple types of activities that we're taking to try to mitigate the noise impact. But in addition to the noise programs, we're doing a lot around sustainability. We're one of the most sustainable general aviation airports in the country as well, on many fronts, to try to mitigate the emissions that get exerted from our activities here. One is that we're level 3 airport when it comes to carbon accreditation with the Airports Council International, and that's the highest step you can get short of being fully carbon neutral. So we're and we're pushing for that level 4 as well, but we've been at level 3 for a little while now, and we're very proud of that fact. And that means that we're taking all kinds of activities to limit and reduce the amount of emissions that happen here at this airport. We're also one of the largest users of sustainable aviation fuel, which is the new type of fuel that aircraft can use, jets can use, which do not put as much emissions into the air. And then from those aircraft that can't use a sustainable aviation fuel, we have unleaded aviation gas. That's mainly the props and the turboprops that they're using an unleaded form of gas that we're trying to get here as well. So these are newer types of technology that are being used by the operators here, and we've had over or close to 500,000 gallons of sustainable aviation fuel used here last year, and a large amount of unleaded aviation fuel as well. And that's, we need to get higher supply. Our operators would use more of the sustainable aviation fuel if there was a higher amount of supply around. It's just a challenge to get sustainable aviation fuel right now. It's same thing at LAX. The major airlines are trying to use sustainable aviation fuel there, but there's just not a lot of supply in the industry right now. They've recently converted a refinery that's in Pontiac, California, about 30 minutes south of here, and they've transformed that into now a sustainable aviation fuel manufacturing place. And so that's one area, but it doesn't generate enough for all the use that we have here. And there are several companies that are globally that are providing this type of fuel, but there's just not enough of it for the type of usage that is in demand right now.
Okay. The Olympics are coming here and the World Cup. So how is LAX being ready for this huge influx of people?
So we have a huge transformation going on at LAX right now, and we're investing close to $30 billion to transform that airport. A big part of that is our landside access modernization program, which is going to revolutionize the way people access the airport. That includes our new automated people mover train, which is going to provide new opportunities for people to get to the airport. It's going to connect with a new economy parking lot, with our consolidated rental car facility, and finally, it's going to connect with the Metro line, which will allow people to take the Metro to the airport, to and from the airport, finally, after so many years. So that's a huge aspect of what we're building there. The rental car facility also is the largest in the world, and that will alleviate a lot of those big, heavy buses coming in and out of the airport, which will make it better for passengers who are renting cars, but it will make it better for everybody who's driving in, because you won't have these big buses taking up all the space in the central terminal area. But we also are modernizing all of our terminals and actually building a couple of new terminals. So we've redone Terminal 3. We're in the process of redoing Terminal 4. We've modernized all of the other existing terminals. We've built a new concourse that connected to our international terminal, and we're actually doing a new project to expand that even further. And then we have two brand new terminals that are just getting started right now. It's an extension of Terminal 1, which is going to add 8 new gates to Terminal 1. And then we have a new International Terminal 9 that will be built just east of Sepulveda. So it'll actually go on the east side of Sepulveda and south of Century, and that will be a fully accessible terminal with roadways and another people mover station. So these are huge investments that we're making to make the airport better. All of these projects that we're doing, certainly we want to have as many of them ready for the World Cup in 26 and then the Olympics in 28. But we would be doing all of these projects anyway. We need to do all these projects anyway, regardless of either of those events, in order to be able to accommodate the growth in the passenger numbers that are projected to come to this region. And so we have to be in a position to be able to accommodate that growth in the number of passengers in order to help continue to be an economic engine for this community.
It's interesting you mentioned there's going to be a rental car facility for all the companies, because when I go to Seattle and when I go to Baltimore, they're all in the same place. So is that, we're going to have the same type of setup here?
That's exactly what we're doing here. Yes, so all of the major rental car facilities will be in this one building, and you will be able to access it from the terminals by our new automated people mover train. So it'll be really easy to get there and back from the rental car facility with the train, so people don't have to get in buses.
You mentioned the people mover. Can you give us some specifics on how it will operate and what it will be like?
So the people mover is just really, it's going to be a driverless train that is going to be 4 cars, and it will take people from westernmost point will be right across from the Tom Bradley International Terminal. There'll be 3 stations within the central terminal area that people will use to access the terminals. Then there'll be an additional station at the economy parking lot. Then there'll be a station where you will connect with the Metro, so it'll be right on top of the Metro station. And then our last stop will be at the Consolidated Rental Car Facility. It will take 10 to 12 minutes to get from one end to the other, and the trains will run at peak times every 2 minutes. So it'll be very, very convenient for people to get to and from anywhere within this area, and to ultimately connect with the Metro to get anywhere within the city.
The LAX flyaway is right around the corner. Are there any plans to expand that? Because I know it comes out of Van Nuys and Union Station.
Correct. Those are the 2 stations that we're servicing right now, but we've just gotten into what we call Flyaway 2.0. So we have a new provider that is providing the service, and as part of that new service, we're really focusing on the technology aspect of it. Number one, we want to make it so that you can reserve your spot, you can get all the information you need, you can purchase your ticket, all on a mobile device. You can see where the buses are. So it's going to be a completely digitally driven service for passengers to make it much easier to use. But we're also then going to expand to new locations, additional locations other than just Van Nuys and Union Station. And we're in the process of determining which locations we want to go to, and we'll also have a kind of an on-demand type of service as well, especially I think initially you'll be probably somewhere in the South Bay area where we'll start that. But the idea is to allow us to have smaller types of buses that can provide the flyaway service to different sections of the city, either regularly or on an on-demand type basis. So in the past we were using those same types of buses for other routes, but we couldn't sustain them economically because there wasn't enough traffic to sustain the cost of those big buses. But by having smaller buses, we think that we can go and serve these other stations either on an on-demand basis or on a fixed basis, but at a reduced cost. So it still provides a service, but allows us to do it more economically. And the investment to transform the airports is substantial, but just as important to what we're doing is how we're doing it. And we're, again, focusing very heavily on sustainability, both here at Van Nuys and at LAX. And a lot of initiatives. We have a sustainability action plan. It's called Boldly Going to Zero, and it has many different objectives to it, but the main one is that we want to be carbon neutral by 2045. We also are doing a lot in the area of inclusivity to make sure that when we're spending all this money, that we're giving the money to companies that are more representative of the demographics of this region. So we have a lot of initiatives geared towards that. And small, local, minority businesses are very important emphasis for us. Community is also very important for us. And we're doing a lot to make sure that we are good neighbors, both at LAX and here in Van Nuys. through a lot of our sustainability measures, but also through being active in the community and making sure that there are opportunities for people to let us know what their issues are and allow us to be able to address them. Innovation is also very important in everything we do. I've talked about many of our innovative initiatives already, but we will continue to look and see how we can innovate, especially to make the passenger process more efficient, and more pleasant, more safe for the passengers. So these are all areas that we're focusing on. And as I say, the LAX is going to be, and Van Nuys are going to be completely different airports in the future.
Well, if people in the community, these business owners, want to get involved in the contracting process, how do they do that?
So we have a lot of initiatives that are trying to help us get more small local businesses certified. And we have something called Build LAX, where people can go to, construction companies can go to learn how to get certified. And we are providing that type of technical assistance for any small and local business here in the area. We're doing a lot of outreach to try to get more companies to come and let them know what you need to do in order to do business with us, so that we can have a lot more participation from small local businesses in all of our procurements, so we can get that, we can spread that money out.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to play devil's advocate now. When you read customer satisfaction surveys, a lot of the times LAX does not rank well. So is the goal, with some of these changes to change that? Absolutely.
And we already see ourselves moving up as we start to implement different facets of this modernization. And when it all comes together, the biggest challenge that people have is getting in and out of the airport. And when people are frustrated coming to the airport, it doesn't matter how nice of a service it is once they're here. If they're already upset, it's going to be a bad experience. And so we get dinged from that a lot. But we also recognize there are lots of things that we can do to improve, and we are making those improvements. And we see our scores go up in areas such as, for a long time, we were really low in providing connectivity, wireless and internet access. Now we're very high in those areas. We have some of the shortest wait times in the country for TSA checkpoint, even though we have the most TSA screenings in the country. Because at LAX, because LAX is the largest origin and destination airport in the world, which means for the United States that we have more TSA people coming through TSA checkpoints than any other airport by far in this country. But yet we have some of the lowest wait times because we have a phenomenal TSA force here that works really hard to make sure that those times are down. So we've made lots of improvements there. We also always have very, very high marks for friendliness. And that's because of the work that we've done with our customer experience team. It's called a program called I Care, where we went out and trained all of the people that work at the airport, not just our employees, but everybody who works at the airport that touched the customer. We made sure that we gave them training on how to provide a nicer, more pleasant service to customers, and we've seen the increase in customer sentiment based upon that. So we're identifying the areas where we're low, and we're trying to address it. That one big one, that access to the airport, we're addressing that with the People Mover project and all of the mobility things that we're doing. And I'm sure that once we tackle that and get that finished, and all of the other modernizations that we're doing, that our scores will be much, much higher and will be more competitive across the globe, not only within the United States.
Okay, but I was under the impression that Hartford is the busiest airport.
Not origin and destination. So yes, we're number 6 in the world as far as total number of passengers. But all the 5 airports, including Atlanta, Hartsfield, which is the busiest and has the most passengers in the world, most of a large portion of their passengers are transfer passengers. That means that they're only they're landing and getting on a plane right away. And that's different because you don't have that many passengers coming to and leaving the airport. So from a traffic perspective outside, a ground transportation perspective, they don't have as much that we do. And from a security checkpoint standpoint, those people, when they transfer, they don't have to go through TSA security. They just go from one part of the airport to another.
Justin Erbacci, CEO of Los Angeles World Airports, thank you so much for having us here. Thank you for all the information you provided. It was certainly an informative conversation. And that's going to do it for this edition of LA Currents. I'm Anita Bennett. Thank you for watching and have a great day.